Today's opening tip, LeBron goes ISO mode in MSG last night. Richard, do you like to see LeBron toy with defenders like this?
Honestly, the old me would crack jokes about MSG and the Knicks, but the new me is just going to say that's a very tough shot and great defense by Taj Gibson.
How long is this new you going to last? Like 2 minutes?
Probably
3
about
minutes?
5 minutes, probably till this clip is over.
Good to know. We just need to know what to plan
what
for,
we're dealing
Richard.
with here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
5 minutes.
The new Richard Jefferson. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols, alongside our resident head coach, David Fizdale, and indeed the NBA champ, Richard Jefferson. Coming up in a few moments, we will announce the rosters for the 2020 McDonald's All-American Boys and Girls Games. There's a lot of high school hoopers, hopefully watching the show right now on the ESPN app. In class. No, maybe I shouldn't say that. But hey, we're here for you, and we won't make you wait too long. First, though, you know how on IG there's a guy who always races to put first on everyone's post? And yeah, it is pretty much always a guy. I don't know who started that or who thinks it's clever, but it's not like it only happens online. Everywhere you go, there is a rush to be the one who said it first, predicted it first, wrote it first. So it wasn't a surprise last night that when Zion Williamson made his long-awaited NBA debut, the evening was roundly declared a dud after he played just a few minutes of the first quarter. What do you mean that was his only shot attempt? What do you mean there were no dunks?
I turned it off.
Of course, in life and in basketball, what happens first is usually not the most interesting part, and it's certainly not always predictive. Richard Jefferson, sitting next to me, certainly knows what happened to anyone who declared the 2016 NBA Finals over off the Warriors' initial lead.
I see you, Stephen A.
Last night, the chorus of Zion naysayers had to eat their words, too, because here is the fourth quarter. Watch Zion go up top over Jakob Poeltl to grab the rebound. Poeltl is 7'1". Zion is 6'6", and yet the height he gets and then the court vision as he races down the floor to thread that pass to Etuan Moore. And after that, well, the dam burst. Zion's flood of scoring started with San Antonio giving him all the room at the three-point line. Thank you. Then this lob from Lonzo. Thank you. Then another three. And hey, Spurs, might want to tighten up that cushion just a little bit. Here is a putback Zion fights for. Very impressive. Then another three out here. And this is when absolute bedlam was breaking out in the arena.
NBA season has started.
Meanwhile, though, twice during that stretch, you might not have noticed it, but the Pelicans actually sent players to the scorer's table to check Zion out of the game. First Nicolo Melli, then Derek Favors. Both guys eventually just came back to the bench, though.
Sit your tail down.
Coach Alvin Gentry was arguing at that point with the medical staff. See, the plan going into the game had been to give Zion short bursts of minutes in each quarter to avoid him getting fatigued, because fatigued muscles are more susceptible to injury. That's the science, but of course there is science, and then there is an absolute hot streak, and that is what Zion was on. So according to our Mark Spears, Gentry actually bargained with the athletic trainers for just a little bit of extra time. He got it, which is how we got this.
Zion, Aldridge, ci siedi. Otro triple, 4 de 4.
석점 시도. Zion Williams.
No. Zion.
No.
Zion.
Welcome to the NBA.
Oh, welcome to the NBA, Zion Williamson. And as you can see there, the ripple effect of what he did last night wasn't just felt around the NBA, it was felt around the world. You know, Zion only took 4 threes the entire preseason, only made one of those. But he said during his injury layoff, there were a lot of days when all he was allowed to do was spot up shoot. And hey, I guess practice makes perfect. And certainly at that point in the game, with Zion 4-4 from 3 and having given the Pels the lead, there was a push to leave him in. But finally, at the timeout, as Gentry delivered the news to Zion, he was done. And again, according to Spears, Zion argued, saying, quote, "Coach, I can win the game for this team." He apparently still felt that way on the podium later. Here he was to the media.
It's very hard. You know, I'm 19, honestly. In that moment, I'm not thinking about longevity. I'm thinking about winning that game. So it was very tough.
Could the Pelicans have won if Zion had stayed in? Maybe. Does it matter in game 45 of the regular season? I mean, if New Orleans misses the playoffs by just 1 game, sure, maybe.
No.
But the truth is, that this isn't really, the Pelicans and Zion aren't playing for his first night as an NBA player. They're not even really playing for this first season, because being first isn't the most important thing. Being lasting is. And if Zion showed us anything, it is that he is someone worth waiting for, and that he is someone we want to be able to watch for a very long time. Richard, what were your impressions as you were sitting there? And you did not turn the game off after the first quarter.
No. My kids tried their best, but I didn't turn it off. This was my impression of Zion, and John Morant tweeted something just a little bit ago saying, like, hey, everyone's trying to pit us against each other, 1 versus 2. Right. I'm happy for Zion. But we see how great John Morant is and is going to be.
Absolutely.
And Zion Williamson was a clear number 1. So that just lets you know what we were expecting. Now, the 3-point shots, impressive. But we all know what he's able to do, how hard he plays, his passion for the game, even his basketball IQ. That is something that we understood. He's going to get uncontested shots because guys aren't going to go out there and guard him. So he's going to shoot an above average percentage. But all the other things that you saw, the intensity, the size, like a matchup nightmare, this is what we've been waiting for and what we've been so excited to see.
Absolutely. And I keep coming back to the guys that they have around them.
Right.
They have a lot of playmakers, guys that know how to get him easy baskets. And the more they play together, the more rhythm they get, the better that team is going to get. And they made the right decision, I think. You know, you can't risk over one game, trying to win that one game and risk, the longevity of him. And so I'm looking forward to continuing watching him grow. I did not expect 4 for 4 from 3.
No one did. He didn't.
No, but I also think that what you're going to see is that injury may have ended up being a benefit later on, that he got to work on his jump shot. And if you have to guard him out 25 feet away from the rim, watch out, league.
Well, and the one thing I'll say, though, is that Zion Williamson is going to create spacing. Very rarely do non-shooters create spacing.
Right.
But what he does is because he's such a force when he's in transition that you have to give a wall, very similar to Giannis, very similar to Ben Simmons or even a young LeBron. You have to then, wait, we need 3 bodies to stop him. But he has the IQ where he's able to kick it out, make the right play.
Hey, JJ Redick.
Hey, JJ Redick. Now we see why we pay. Welcome to the team, JJ Redick. And so you add that, you add that component to him, and it's very rare. That shows you his special ability that a non-shooter can create spacing because of his size and what it'll take to stop him.
Look, if he hits threes, I don't expect him to go 4 for 4, 100% every night, but if he hits threes, even at a clip that is more than we expect, I do expect players to play up on him a little bit more, and then, of course, he can blow right by them. So you have a little bit of that going on, too. We've heard from Adrian Wojnarowski that the Pelicans have basically pulled away from the trade market. We're 2 weeks before the deadline because they think that they can make a little run here. And I love what Jrue Holiday said last night. And he was, by the way, one of the names that when they were going through that 13-game losing streak, everyone's like, is Jrue Holiday available? He was up there at the podium with Zion last night. The Pelicans obviously trying not to put Zion out by himself too much, but Zion got asked many of the questions. And one of the final questions was, hey, are you looking forward, now that this is over, your debut, are you looking forward to things getting back to normal? And Zion started to answer like, yes, of course I am. And Jrue interrupted, and he was just like, with this kid, there's never going to be a normal.
Oh, every game is sold out now.
And
like, you saw that energy in there, and that's what the whole city, Brandon Ingram, great, having an all-star season. That's what they've been waiting for. The NBA's been waiting for.
Yeah, it's great for the league.
Absolutely. All right. It's a tale of 2 halves last night for the Clippers. They played the Hawks. Now, I'm going to say, they were without Kawhi or Paul George. I'm just going to say that. The Clippers went on a 20-0 run in the first quarter. They held a 19-point lead at the half, which, I mean, again, we saw this Clippers team without PG or Kawhi last year. They were very good. It's what we would expect, except the second half when the Hawks refused to go down without a fight. Trae Young, not on this team last night. He sat out to nurse an injured thigh. John Collins scoring 33 points, 16 rebounds. The Hawks ended up beating the Clippers by 7. So, Coach, the Clippers now have 14 losses this season. Was last night their most embarrassing of the 14
I don't
losses?
get into the embarrassing part because any night you can lose to any team. And especially with their 2 stars out. They're playing against a desperate team in Atlanta. The one thing that's interesting with Trae Young being out, as good as he is offensively, it took a non-defender off the floor, and it added more size to their lineup.
That's such a nice way. That's such a nice way. It took a non-defender off the floor.
I like the kid. He's going to get better. But right now, I just think it added a guy on the floor that can help them get stops. And that's how you come back from a 20-point deficit, is you got to put together some stops. And credit to Atlanta for hanging in there and digging in.
So this is one of those games where you look at at the end of the season when you're talking about postseason matchups, like, well, they lost. It's like, it's just one game.
So you don't think this was their worst loss this season?
I don't think it's the worst loss because Trey wasn't there. Their two starters weren't there. Like,
Right.
again,
What does it even mean?
I'll say this, though. Inside the Clipper locker room, those players and Doc are disgusted with themselves.
Yes.
Right? Because it's inexcusable. They have enough talent. They have enough scoring. They have enough defenders, and they play the right way that this should never happen. Do I think that this is going to have lasting effects? Are they, like, no. They're pissed off at themselves, and rightfully so, but I wouldn't say that this was their worst loss.
Yeah, and every good team has a stinker.
Yeah,
that's
no,
just
of
how
course.
it works. Like you can rack up 2 or 3 of those a season. It don't matter how good your team is. Your championship team,
Right.
y'all had some stinkers every year.
did.
We had some.
And I
in
know as a
Miami.
coach, sometimes you don't even show the film. You're just like, we're just going to put that in the trash and go. I do want to ask you, though, Fizz, about the chemistry of this Clippers team.
Yeah.
Because I think they've done some smart things with how they have or haven't played Kawhi Leonard. He looks so rested and good right now, and this is the part of the season where you want to start to get it going. So all of that stuff, keeping him out, keeping Paul George out when he's even just mildly hurt, all of that clearly has been good for getting their stars where they need to be in the spring. But what about the chemistry aspect?
Well, obviously, it's not killing them too bad because they have 30 wins on the season, so
Right.
they're pretty dang good. But I think what you're going to start seeing is post All-Star break. They're going to start playing those guys more together, and you're
Okay.
going to start seeing them rev up for the playoffs. And that's what it's about. You got to think big picture when it comes to a lot of these things. Again, I go back to that Toronto team that Kawhi was a part of, and he was on load management there. And look at what they did as they started to put it together in the second half of that season.
Yeah, and you want to be a better team in May than you were in April. You want to be a better team in June than
Absolutely.
you were in May. So chemistry, if you're a team that believes that you're going to win a championship, that believes you can get to the conference finals, so then you don't worry so much about chemistry now because you realize that you have all of April.
Right.
You have all of May, right? That's what you really and truly believe. So it's like, yo, if we play 4 or 5 games against the same team so we can work on our chemistry and our communication, you're not as stressed. Now, are you have guys that can get MVPs and Defensive Player of the Years? No, because those are regular season awards.
Right.
So you pretty much chalk all of that up and just say, hey, we're going to focus on improving, like he said, to the second part of the season.
I know on some of your Cavaliers teams, you guys didn't even start to work on your chemistry until the first round of the. That's what the first round of the
Well,
playoffs.
it depends
are
on what
for.
your definition of chemistry was. We were doing a lot of off-the-court bonding, but it was just like on the court, our chemistry, we were building up to that.
There you go. The difference between teams who think that they're playing a 6-month season versus an 8-month season.
Like you started off, you said first isn't always everything.
There
It's
you
how
go.
last,
It's how
right?
you end. You know what we're doing on this show? We are going to announce the participants in the McDonald's All-American Boys and Girls Game.
Get it.
This is always so fun. We got the names locked and loaded. Don't go anywhere. It's right after this break. First, though, it's time for our first decent replay of the day. And we're going to do 98 McDonald's All-American Dunk Contest.
Watch this dunk.
RJ.
Watch this.
Young
Watch this.
Richard Jefferson.
Oh, yes.
That looked like me.
Wasn't that awesome?
Was that a
Look at his hair, too. Look at that. Look at that hair. Look at that fade.
Not a
That fade was
lot of hair.
fire.
That looked like a young coach
Yes.
trying to dunk.
Oh, look at the fade, though. Watch the replay. Look at this. Watch it. Watch it. Not the best takeoff. And I got underneath it, but that's, hey, look.
Nice
understand
roll.
it. Oh, yeah. You
Nice
see that?
roll at the
You
end.
know what's crazy?
And
Is
look
I
here,
made-
look here. Redemption!
That's easy. And you know what? I made more money than everybody else that was on my team. So it's like, you know what? I'll just show these clips of the cows come home. I don't give a damn.